everyone, and welcome to a deep dive curated just for you. Today, we're going to be looking at a mini test.
Okay.
It's from a website called The Spiritual Seek.
Great.
And the test is called, Are You a True Spiritual Seeker?
Interesting.
And some of the answers, I gotta say, kind of surprised me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really glad we have an expert here to break it all down with us.
Happy to be here.
So, right off the bat, the first statement,
Okay.
spiritual awakening is within everyone's reach. I feel like that's something you see a lot, right?
Yeah, you see that everywhere these days.
Yeah, and the test says false.
Wow.
I was really caught off guard by that.
Yeah, I can see why.
Why would a test about spiritual seeking say that?
Well, I think it comes down to how they define spiritual awakening.
Okay.
It's not just about, feeling good or having a few, profound experiences. It's about a really fundamental shift in perspective, a deep understanding of our true nature, which the test says, requires a lot of effort, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront, our shadows.
So it's not just there for everyone, even if they want it.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee, even if you consider yourself, a seeker.
That makes me think about, people who think they're on the spiritual path.
Right.
Just because they meditate or go to workshops and stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like the test is saying that's not enough.
Exactly.
There's a much deeper level of engagement needed for true awakening.
It emphasizes that it's not about seeking external validation.
Right.
Or clinging to comfortable spiritual practices. It's about doing the inner work, confronting those parts of ourselves that we'd rather, avoid.
Yeah, like facing those things that we're afraid of.
Exactly. It resonates with that idea that true transformation often comes from facing those deepest fears.
Is there a danger then in oversimplifying the path?
That's a great question.
To spiritual awakening.
Yeah, and I think the test would say yes. It suggests that by clinging to those comforting, feel-good ideas about spirituality, we might actually be avoiding the real work. It's like we're creating a spiritualized version of our comfort zones.
Ooh, a spiritual comfort zone.
Yeah.
I like that. So if this test is pushing us to, confront our shadows, where does that leave this idea of contributing to society?
Okay.
Statement 2 is all about that.
All right.
I actively strive to make my contribution to society, but once again, false.
Another curveball.
Big false.
I know, right?
So what's going on here?
This is where the test perspective gets really interesting.
Okay.
So it argues that this idea of striving to contribute implies a separation between ourselves and others.
Right, I am doing something for them.
Exactly. That dualistic perspective is at odds with true spiritual understanding.
So it's not that we shouldn't care about making the world a better place.
Right.
It's that our motivation for doing it needs to be looked at.
It's exactly. The test emphasizes that, genuine contribution flows naturally from a state of interconnectedness.
Okay.
From recognizing that, we're all part of this larger web of being.
Right.
It's not about ego-driven efforts to make a difference, but rather about aligning ourselves with a higher purpose.
That reminds me of that Gandhi quote.
Yes.
About losing yourself in service to others.
Beautiful.
Dissolving that illusion of separation.
Exactly. And the test actually goes even deeper into this. By using the concept of non-duality. This is a core principle in many Eastern spiritual traditions, suggesting that the separation between self and other is ultimately an illusion.
Wow.
From this perspective, working on ourselves is our contribution.
Oh, wow.
Because as we cultivate inner peace,
Right.
compassion, and wisdom,
Right.
we naturally radiate that outwards, impacting the world around us just by being.
So striving suggests this ego-driven separation, while true contribution stems from this deeper understanding of interconnectedness.
Exactly.
Man, this test is really making me think about things.
I know, right?
So this idea of interconnectedness and non-duality seems to tie in with the next statement about abundance.
Okay.
Statement number 3, true spirituality generates abundance and prosperity. A lot of people believe that.
Oh, yeah, it's a popular belief.
But the test says false.
Right.
So once again, why?
Well, I think this is where the text really starts to challenge those materialistic interpretations of spirituality. The ones that have become so common these days.
Yeah.
It argues that equating spiritual growth with material wealth misses the mark completely.
Yeah, it's like that saying, money can't buy happiness, but this goes deeper.
Exactly.
Recognizing that true abundance comes from inner peace, gratitude, and contentment.
It's about shifting our focus
from
external validation to internal fulfillment.
I like that.
Jesus' words from the Gospel of Matthew come to mind here.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also."
And Lao Tzu reminds us in the Tao Te Ching that knowing enough is enough.
Right.
So it's not about denying ourselves material comforts.
No, not at all.
But about understanding where our true source of abundance is.
Exactly. The test seems to be saying that when we chase material wealth as a sign of spiritual progress, we become attached to outcomes, which is the opposite of the detachment and surrender emphasized in many traditions.
It's about recognizing that true abundance is an inner state of being, not how much money we have in the bank.
I love how this test is making us redefine these concepts.
Me too. Whoa. All right, so speaking of redefining things, statement 4 is all about happiness. Listening to one's soul makes life happy and fulfilling. Sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
But the test says false.
Wow, really?
I know, another curveball.
So what's the test getting at here?
Well, I think it's challenging another common misconception about spiritual seeking. It's not just about feeling good or achieving this constant state of bliss, while self-reflection is important. Saying that spiritual growth equals personal happiness can be misleading.
So it's not about avoiding discomfort or seeking constant bliss.
It's more about embracing the full spectrum of human experience. Even the challenging parts. And seeing those as opportunities for growth.
The test highlights the importance of transcending those desires for happiness that are often based on external circumstances.
It reminds me of Buddhist teachings about non-attachment. Clinging to desires even for happiness ultimately leads to suffering.
It's a deep concept.
It is. So how do we reconcile that with our natural desire for joy and fulfillment?
That's a question many spiritual traditions wrestle with.
I bet.
I think the test would say that true fulfillment comes from a deeper understanding of our true nature, which might not always align with our desires for happiness.
So it's not that we shouldn't experience happiness.
No, of course not.
It's that we shouldn't make it like the main goal.
Exactly. The test challenges us to look beyond those superficial notions of happiness. And seek a more lasting sense of peace and contentment.
That comes from within.
That's it.
Okay, this is really making me think about how I define happiness and fulfillment.
That's powerful stuff.
It really is. Now, statements 5 and 6 really hit home for me.
Oh, yeah.
They talk about areas where I think a lot of us struggle. Staying open to new ideas and embracing change.
Big ones.
Statement 5, I tend to dismiss ideas that challenge my beliefs or habits.
This is the first statement marked true in the test.
Really?
And it's a crucial one. It highlights a major obstacle to spiritual development: closed-mindedness.
It's so easy to get stuck in our own little bubbles.
It really is. We surround ourselves with information that confirms what we already believe.
And avoid anything that might shake things up.
But the test is telling us that this closed-mindedness is the enemy of growth.
We could all use a little more, openness to new ideas.
It reminds me of Socrates. He emphasized questioning everything. True wisdom starts with acknowledging our own ignorance. And embracing the discomfort of challenging our assumptions.
It's not just about intellectual openness, though, right?
No, you're right.
It's about recognizing how ingrained habits can hold us back.
Habits become automatic, unconscious routines. But spiritual growth requires conscious awareness, a willingness to examine our thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
So if we're stuck in those automatic patterns, are we really on a path of self-discovery?
That's the question the test seems to be asking. It suggests that real growth requires breaking free from those comfortable but limiting habits.
This whole idea of being a spiritual sleepwalker, that really resonates with me.
It's a powerful image.
It is, and it leads perfectly into the final statement. I'm reluctant to embrace change because it disrupts my comfort zone.
The comfort zone.
Yeah.
This one, the test marks as true. Highlighting a fundamental truth. Change is inevitable.
It's like what we were saying earlier about resisting anything that challenges our beliefs or disrupts our routines.
Clinging to those comfort zones, even the spiritual ones, can hold us back.
An ancient Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, famously said, change is the only constant in life.
Love that quote.
It reminds me of Plato's allegory of the cave. You know, those trapped in the shadows who fear the light of truth?
Stepping out of those shadows, embracing the unknown.
Yeah.
That's crucial for spiritual evolution.
So if we're afraid of what we might find if you're clinging to our comfort zones, are we truly committed to that search for truth?
That's a powerful question to ask ourselves.
It is. It really is. It makes you examine your motivations.
Yeah. Are they truly rooted in a desire for growth?
Okay.
Or just a need for security?
Wow. We covered a lot of ground.
We did.
From confronting our shadows to embracing change.
It's a lot to think about.
This mini test has really challenged my ideas about what it means to be a spiritual seeker.
It's thought-provoking, for sure.
I feel like we only scratched the surface.
There's definitely more to unpack.
Stay tuned, because in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore the overall takeaways from this test and delve even deeper into what it means to be a true spiritual seeker.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Great.
All right. See you then.
See you next time. Welcome back.
So now that we've kind of gone through each statement, let's zoom out a bit and look at the mini test as a whole.
Okay.
What are the main takeaways or insights that we get from these, seemingly simple questions?
Well, as we were talking about each statement, I kept noticing this idea that true spiritual seeking isn't about achieving some kind of blissful state or, checking things off a to-do list.
It's not a checklist.
No, it's about this ongoing process of self-discovery, questioning, confronting uncomfortable truths.
About ourselves and the world.
Exactly.
This test really challenges that, romanticized view of spirituality.
You see it everywhere these days.
It's not about comfort or validation.
No.
It's about this messiness.
Yeah, embracing that complexity.
Like the interplay of light and shadow.
Exactly. And those challenging aspects. The discomfort, the questioning, the constant reevaluation. Those are the catalysts for growth.
Like we were saying earlier about the spiritual sleepwalker, if we're not willing to, challenge ourselves to step outside our comfort zones, we're just sleepwalking through life.
Essentially.
So if true spiritual seeking is about this ongoing self-discovery, where does that leave the idea of, finding answers or achieving enlightenment? Is that even a real goal?
I think the test would say that focusing only on the destination can actually hinder the journey. It's about embracing the process itself. The constant exploration. The willingness to let go of certainty. Embrace the unknown.
So the journey is the destination.
You got it.
That brings us to something I thought was really interesting about the test. Remember how it said if you agreed with 0 of the statements, you're an authentic spiritual seeker? How does that work?
It seems counterintuitive.
It really does.
But it's brilliant.
Okay.
The test highlights the subjectivity of spiritual growth.
Okay.
There's no one path. No checklist.
Okay.
It's about each person forging their own journey, guided by their own inner compass.
So it's not about some external definition of enlightenment.
No.
It's about that deep connection with our own inner wisdom.
Exactly. And that's a key takeaway here. Trusting ourselves, our intuition, our own experiences.
That's really empowering.
It is.
It takes the pressure off.
Yeah, you don't have to fit into some mold. You can honor your own journey.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question.
Okay, good idea.
Given everything we've talked about, considering all these complexities of true spiritual seeking, do you now consider yourself a spiritual seeker? And why or why not?
That's a great question.
Really think about that.
Yeah.
Reflect on your own, beliefs and experiences.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Exactly. It's about understanding where you are.
Yeah. On your own path.
And this journey, it's a lifelong thing.
Absolutely.
It's about asking questions, challenging what we think we know.
And embracing that our understanding will always evolve.
I feel like we've covered so much.
We have.
But there's one more crucial aspect we need to talk about.
Okay.
This emphasis on confronting our shadows. And embracing change.
Those are really at the heart of it all.
Yeah. And they're also where I think a lot of us really struggle.
It's not easy.
So in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore why those things are so important.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into the Are You a True Spiritual Seeker mini test. I gotta say, after looking at those 6 statements, I'm feeling inspired, but also kind of intimidated by like just how much goes into really walking a spiritual path.
It's not easy.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart.
It's definitely not.
It really makes you face those parts of spiritual seeking that we might want to avoid.
It does.
The discomfort, the challenging, that constant questioning.
Exactly.
And like 2 of the biggest themes that keep coming up are this idea of, you know, confronting our shadows and embracing change.
Those seem to be at the core.
Yeah, like those are central to what the test considers true spiritual growth.
It's not about seeking comfort or clinging to those idealized notions.
Yeah.
It's about being willing to delve into those darker parts, the messier parts, and embrace change.
Okay, so let's start with the shadows.
All right.
Why is confronting them so important?
Well, the test seems to suggest that those shadows...
The things we want to hide.
Exactly.
Okay.
They actually hold the key
to
unlocking our potential. It's in those places of discomfort and fear that we find the greatest opportunities for growth.
Like that saying, the wound is where the light enters you.
It's a beautiful image.
Yeah, it's in those wounded parts that we can heal and become whole.
And this ties back to what we were talking about earlier. Self-awareness.
Right.
It's by acknowledging and confronting those shadow aspects that we can start to understand them, integrate them.
Otherwise, they're just hidden.
Yeah, lurking in the background.
And it's still impacting us.
Influencing our thoughts and actions.
So it's not about judging them or, you know, pushing them away.
Not at all.
It's about bringing them into the light.
Yes, with awareness and compassion.
Okay, so we're not trying to be perfect.
No.
Or get rid of those parts of ourselves.
It's about embracing...
the fullness of who we are.
Exactly. Shadows and all.
Okay. And that brings us to the other big theme, embracing change.
Why do you think the test emphasizes this?
Well, throughout our whole conversation, it's clear that this mini test, it views spiritual seeking as a dynamic process, this journey of like constant evolution and transformation.
And that involves change.
It has to.
It does.
And I think the test highlights the importance of not just accepting change, like in our heads, but really embracing it.
Yeah, with our whole being.
On an emotional and spiritual level.
It's one thing to know that change is constant. But another to surrender to it.
Especially when it's uncomfortable.
When it challenges our sense of security.
Yeah, that's where the real work is.
That's where the growth happens.
Recognizing when we're clinging to the familiar. To what we know.
And nudging ourselves.
Yeah, to step outside that comfort zone.
Exactly.
I think that's where people get stuck.
It's easy to get comfortable.
We want things to stay the same.
Yeah, we want control.
But the test seems to say that real spiritual growth requires letting go of that need for control.
It does, and embracing uncertainty.
Even chaos.
It can be scary.
It can be trusting the process, even when it's messy, is leading us somewhere good.
Towards greater understanding, wisdom,
and a deeper connection.
Yeah, with ourselves.
It's like surrendering to the flow.
Yes, letting go of how we think things should be.
And allowing ourselves to be guided.
By something bigger.
It can be terrifying.
It can be.
To let go of those familiar structures.
Yeah, the beliefs.
Happen to just step into the unknown.
It's uncharted territory.
No wonder we resist change.
It feels risky.
It does.
And vulnerable.
Yeah, like it's threatening.
It can feel that way.
But the test is saying that in those moments of surrender, when we let go,
when we release our grip,
we open ourselves up
to transformation.
We have to lose ourselves, to find ourselves,
to break down the old, to build something new.
It's in that space of not knowing that real breakthroughs happen.
The creativity, the innovation.
This mini test, it's given us a challenge.
It has.
To be conscious participants in our own evolution.
That's the invitation.
Yeah, of spiritual seeking.
To awaken to who we are, shadows and all.
And to embrace change.
As we journey deeper.
Wow, what a powerful way to end this.
I'm glad you think so.
We covered so much, from challenging those ideas about spirituality to confronting our shadows, embracing change.
It's a lot to think about.
I hope this gave you some insights.
Me too.
And maybe inspired you to approach your own journey.
With curiosity and courage.
And the willingness to embrace the unknown.
Exactly.
There's no one right way.
It's your own path.
Trust yourself.
Listen to your heart.
And embrace the beauty.
And the complexity.
Your own spiritual journey.
It's a lifelong process.
Thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure.